Well, hi everyone and welcome. I am so happy to have Kim Kuljian back with me. We had done a series on PQ Mastery about a year ago, wasn't it, Kim?
I think so.
And people loved it. People just loved how we interacted. And what I have found is that I do so much better talking about concepts when I have somebody to talk about those concepts with. So, Kim has been gracious enough to join me on this next adventure where I dive into boundaries. And we're going to have a series of videos for you. We'll probably chop them off at one question at a time. So, I'm introducing Kim now on this first one. The next video might just start with a question. But in general, we want to do a whole series for you of videos on boundaries and self discovery. So I hope you enjoy it. And thanks so much for joining me, Kim. And thanks for being willing to ask me all these questions.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So, with boundaries, when people think about boundaries, they imagine pushing others away, saying no, getting more space. And yet, you have said that good boundaries create closer relationships. Can you explain?
Yes, it's funny. I think setting boundaries gets a bad rap because people do it wrong. I was thinking about this, and when people tend to do boundaries wrong, there's usually a self-righteousness and a judginess about it, which is don't dare do that for around me. That's not acceptable. Or, that behavior is wrong. So there's a self-righteousness and a judgment to it, right? Don't you yell at me, right? Don't behave that way to me. That's disrespectful behavior. And so the way we deliver the boundary and the way we've sort of villainized the people who have crossed our boundaries really does create distance.
Mhm.
But if you do boundaries right, you're doing them at a much deeper level. And you're really being thoughtful about the real issues that boundaries address, which is the clarity in the relationship and who has responsibility for what and what behaviors are having what impacts. What's okay for me, what's not okay for me. But it's easy to say what's okay for me and what's not okay for me if you have set up a respectful dialogue. When you are able to talk about boundaries in a mutually respectful way, then they bring you closer because what they do is they eliminate what you might call the elephant in the room or all the hidden resentment, all that stuff. And it just allows you to be more authentic. So I can say, when you do that, I get really embarrassed, right? It's on me that I get embarrassed, right? I'm not blaming you for my embarrassment. But when I tell you when you do that, I get embarrassed, then and it's all in the tone, in that respectful tone where I'm taking ownership of my own feelings, then someone can hear me. They're not feeling accused, they're not feeling judged, they're not feeling the need to defend. They can actually hear that I'm saying that I get embarrassed and I'm not blaming the embarrassment. So then they can think, well, that's good to know. Maybe I won't do that because I really don't want to embarrass you.
Mhm.
And now, because you're not judging me, you're not putting me down, you're not demeaning me, now I'm more liable to honor that boundary. So when we do boundaries work, it goes much deeper than just telling someone, no, that behavior is not allowed around me. And I think most people who learn boundaries, they just do it at that surface level at the top.
Mhm.
So learning to really think about what's really important with boundaries and learning how to deliver the boundaries requests makes all the difference in the world and actually brings people closer.
Thank you for sharing that. As you're talking to, the thing that comes up is how vulnerable, like what a vulnerable space you're talking about that you could share what embarrasses you and have
Mm-hmm.
that other person have the privilege of hearing that would make such a difference too. It's such a deeper level. It feels very intimate, actually.
Yes, and people can't get there when they've got all those hidden tensions right away. So normally they'll set boundaries before they've actually done the work that makes them brave enough to set the boundaries. Usually what I say is don't set a boundary when you're triggered. And then you have time to go away and think through it and then say, hey, yesterday when, or
Mm.
last week when, I've been meaning to tell you. And then you're in a calmer space. It's a little bit easier to have that vulnerability and that intimacy. And that is what brings you closer.
Hmm, thank you.